Welcome to Housing Developments.
I'm Jim Tobin.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
Live
from Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. Awesome. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's a nice vibe.
The Fall Leadership Meeting. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I mean, the weather's gorgeous. Denver's a cool town.
Yeah, no, we're having some good times. It's only day one.
Only day one.
Doing the power of the people.
That's right. It's good to govern and see everybody.
That's right.
Should we thank our sponsor?
Absolutely. LG Pro Builder.
Let's build a good life together. Thanks for being with us.
So, shocker, the government is now open since we've last talked.
You're welcome. We're 40, I forgot the 44 days.
44 days.
Some ridiculous amount. And for what, right? The Democrats who pushed, their kind of political objective on healthcare didn't really get it.
Right.
The president stood pat, and a lot of people didn't get paid, but now they're getting paid.
And everyone got whacked, right? There was really no winners here.
For anybody who was traveling, it was a nightmare. And well, good news is it's open. For a lot of the programs our members use, flood insurance program, FHA, whether it's multifamily or single family. I mean, it's good that it's open. Right. Again, maybe a little bit of an unforced error at some point, but in general, on to the next crisis.
So you talked a little bit about some of the programs that now are open. So what's next, though, in terms of the government? I mean, they were hanging back for a really long time. We were kind of in limbo. So what's the next 2 weeks look like, 3 weeks? I mean, because we're talking about the holidays coming up real soon.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's next week, so they won't be in for a week there. So they passed 3 appropriations bills as part of that package to reopen the government. So and then they moved the next. They've kept the government open, or the rest of the government outside of those three pieces of legislation and departments.
Right.
Until January. So that's the next big deadline. Yeah. But the goal here is to work on bipartisan minibuses, right? So another package of 3 appropriations bills between now and then, whether they're less controversial or they can feel like they can come to some agreement and pass those between now and ultimately the end of the year / holidays. And then hopefully we don't do this again in January. But a lot of optimism. The other deadline I will say is the Obamacare subsidies that were the Democrats. That was their main talking point. Right. Those do come due on January 1st. Right. And so there's some negotiation on health care as well.
I mean, the only thing that the Democrats got out of that is that they get a vote in December. No sure thing. They just get the vote in the Senate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was the best they were ever going to get. Yeah. But there is a bipartisan group, both in the House and the Senate, kind of what's left of the middle of the political spectrum, trying to come to some deal. And Republicans have said, look, there are some reforms that we would do for the extension of these Obamacare subsidies. And those subsidies were a result of COVID, right? And they were designed to be temporary to help people get over the hump of COVID. Yeah. And now they want to, like anything like this,
let's make it permanent.
Let's make it permanent, And so, there's as much an ideological tug and pull on this.
So one thing that is not permanent, right, that we can talk about is the gas ban, because NAHB continues to fight on that in New York City.
That's right, yeah.
Right. Oh, sorry, New York State.
Yeah, New York State.
We worked with Mike
Fazio, the executive officer of the state association. So
we've been working, right?
Yeah,
maybe the government hasn't.
That's right. Yeah, so a big win for Mike Fazio and all of our members in New York. The beginning of the year, the Governor Kathy Hochul, they were going to move to a complete gas ban in new buildings. Right. And there is pending litigation that's probably going to work its way all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Of course.
And Mike and the crew, working nonstop to get the governor to ultimately make a decision, sign an executive order that the gas ban will not go into effect until after all of the litigation, even if it goes all the way to the Supreme Court, and then 120 days after whatever ruling comes out from there. So maybe at least New York is looking at least a year, effectively a year before that would go into effect if those cases don't go our way. But we still think we're standing on good ground.
Is there any hope that the same type of legislation that we saw in Washington State and stuff, that we kind of get the same feeling of, okay, let's put a ban or at least a stop until it goes through the courts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. I mean, I would say that natural gas definitely is a congressional purview, right? Given that it's interstate commerce, and so one state doing it over another. This, if this all works out, it could pretty much effectively stop any individual state or local bans, like we saw start in Berkeley, California, like we were able to beat back in Washington State. But even if it's one state at a time,
we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it. But this is a big win for affordability, for fuel choice. Yeah,
right.
and that's all we ever talk about.
Yeah, because some of the things that they're putting out there, like, it just doesn't make sense. Electricity is great, but when you're minus 40, good luck having that system, ready,
That's right.
the
That's
grid,
right.
to accommodate, an entire neighborhood or 20.
Exactly. We have to be smart about this.
That's right. Another big win was WOTUS, right? Waters of the U.S., right?
Yeah.
The Trump administration rolling back what the EPA can do in terms of wetlands and
That's right.
pollution.
Yeah, that came out I think just today or yesterday.
Yeah.
The EPA announced this the new regulation on waters of the U.S. honors more closely the Sackett decision that came out of the Supreme Court a couple of years ago. The Biden administration tried to do something in that space. It was a weak attempt that did not really honor that decision. What the Trump rule is going to do now is really talk about really putting bright lines and hopefully durable bright lines about waters of the United States, what is or isn't in
navigable.
or out, what is navigable, what do you need a permit for, which helps developers to be able to look at a piece of property, know exactly what they have to mitigate, what they need a permit for, what they don't need a permit for. And that should speed up permitting times, which means reducing costs for land development. We all know land is one of the biggest cost drivers of homes.
And let's be clear, right? We are not pro-pollution, right? We are,
right.
Because we're kind of labeled that, right? Oh, you're for this,
right.
so therefore you're pro. No, we are pro-clarity,
Yeah.
right? So that we can do the business, the business of the nation of building homes.
That's right.
Right? But I hate when people put that, put that brush on. It's pro-pollution.
Yeah, they make the whole thing sound like we're dumping oil drums and chemicals. Like there are laws that govern that.
Right,
this is much
Not
different,
that.
right? And so, the really big one. In fact, the only reason it got delayed this long is the government shutdown. Right? You want to talk about some of the the ancillary. Not benefits, but detriments.
Ramifications.
Ramifications of the government shutdown was that a bunch of regulatory rollbacks, revisions that were in the pipeline had to get stopped. And so, in fact, one of the other things we had talked about, and we were talking about in our last podcast, was FHA having to issue an emergency order during the government shutdown to keep the new energy code mandate from going into effect on multifamily. So, Russ, I'm a Neil Young fan. Russ never sleeps. And so NHB never sleeps on these things, pushing the administration to get these things done. And so a couple really big wins over the last little while.
And we're seeing this resonate, right? Because you and I talked about this, and with the senior officers as well, people are talking about housing. At all levels of the government, people are talking about housing. Let's talk about Pulte.
FHA Director Bill Pulte.
Yeah, just throwing stuff out there, trying to figure out, what we can do to try and mitigate some of the affordability issues.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. A month ago, we saw the president and Director Pulte talk about how to get the big builders, the large publics, building more housing. All for everybody building more housing, not just the big guys, but the traditional NHB member and those custom builders and every builder at every strata.
Yeah.
But then the director came out and the president did, and kind of posited this idea of a 50-year mortgage.
Right. Okay.
Hey, look, as long as this is one more tool they're looking at on the affordability front.
Keep the discussions going.
Yeah, that's right. And is there some merit to the 50-year mortgage? Sure, I think there are some things that we really need to be concerned about. How does somebody build equity? We know that, equity is really, I always talk about housing as the gateway to the middle class.
Right.
You're going to build equity slower in a 50-year mortgage. And a lot of people use that equity to help put the down payment or be able to afford that next house. Traditionally, that might be a new home. So we look at that as, could have a little detrimental effect on new home construction.
Right.
But again, it's more about more arrows in the quiver. And we should have these large conversations about affordability, and whether it's the finance side, which is going to help with demand, right?
Yeah.
Or do you talk about the supply side? That's where we
key,
are,
right?
And I talk about these new regulatory avenues that the president's going down with WOTUS. Like that is very welcome. That will drive down the cost of new home construction and will add to more supply, and that is a really important piece. So all of this, the whole ecosystem of housing, again, like you said, being talked about, top of everybody's mind at every level of government, and we welcome any ideas, and more importantly, to have those conversations. So I applaud Director Pulte for continuing to keep housing in the forefront.
Absolutely. So we're basically counting down the clock, right? 2026 is coming, 2025 is almost gone. Between now and the end of 2025, what are you focusing on in terms of the association? What do we need to focus on to kind of finish the year strong for housing?
Yeah, I think. Well, keep it in forefront. We're here talking to the builders. There's hundreds of builders with us this week. Run them into the hallways, talking to them. Hey, how's business? Slow, right? Everybody's feeling kind of this kind of pent up, economic
uncertainty. Right?
Uncertainty. Yeah, right? Thank you. Right.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic in talking to Rob Dietz, our chief economist.
Yep. Dr. Rob Dietz.
Dr. Rob Dietz. 26 should be better, marginally better. We want to keep sure we understand interest rates low, so I'm focused on that. What does the Fed do at the last meeting of the year? Do they cut rates again?
Yeah.
A little mixed bag on whether they do or don't.
Right.
Does the government, you want to keep the government open moving into the year?
Let's start with that.
Yeah, at the bare minimum. Like Congress has one job, right? And so I think it's that continuing to advocate immigration. We're going to get ready to talk about immigration policy here at NAHB. How do we talk about immigration policy from the humanitarian perspective, but more importantly from the economic perspective? A third of our contractor workforce is immigrant labor, so we have to talk about that. So continue to talk to the White House as we watch their enforcement actions, what's on the horizon out there. What more can we do on the regulatory burdens? Continue to talk to the president about a menu of regulatory items. How can he push local governments to be a better partner with builders and developers and get out of the way of building more housing? That's a big plus for us. So there's there's so much stuff going on between now and the end of the year. Like you said, it does get compressed with the holidays.
Yeah. But it looks like it's going to be a lot of baby steps as opposed to large programs or omnibuses that we normally see. No, that's not. It's going to be little pieces.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. I mean, I still think everybody's kind of feeling each other out still on Capitol Hill. Yeah, but the Trump administration, to their credit, we saw after we saw those midterm or the off-year elections last year. There's a lot of people are overvaluing what happened. A lot of people undervaluing what happened. But I think you've already seen the president kind of pivot to that affordability on every front. The things that got him elected, right? And so to see him pivot to that, I think is great. I think housing is as much part of the equation as well. And we'll continue to be a partner and continue to talk to the White House all the time.
Awesome. All right. Well, to be continued, right?
Yeah.
One last thing before we leave.
Yeah.
Our condolences to the Mitchell family. Bob Mitchell, a past president, passed away this week. The man was an amazing leader. I know he was big in your world because he was there when you started, right?
Yeah. Bob is a lion of the industry. Obviously, in the Mid-Atlantic area, the Mitchell and Best company has one of the best names. Bob was one of the first presidents that I served with when I first started with NAHB. So condolences to Marty, who's a national leader for us, as well as his son.
That's right.
And it's just tough. Yeah, it's just tough. Bob, again, a lion of the industry, and more importantly, just a great leader of the National Association of Home Builders.
Yeah, he'll be missed. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. I think that's it.
That's it, man.
LG Pro Builder.
Let's build a good life together.
That's right.
Yeah.
With that.
So until next time, I'm Jim Tobin.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
See ya.
Bye.